Power is always dangerous.
And winter is coming.
I'm getting lost in the details of nothing.
Remember the first time you saw Star Wars? We were still living at your mom's house.
The Turtles take over what's left of Baxter Stockman's equipment to help them track down Shredder and the Technodrome and create the Turtle Van. Shredder opens a portal to Dimension X and hopes to obtain new weapons. Instead, the Neutrinos, 3 teenage Hot Rodders, and 2 of Krang's military Stone Warriors, General Treg and 1 soldier, come through. This is Season 1, Episode 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hot Rod and Teenagers from Dimension X, and you are channel surfing with the bargain bin. Description from IMDb, we will not be holding back on spoilers. I'm Sandro, and I'm joined, as always, by my podcast partner in crime, Ben, and the Newfoundland Nightmare, Justin Newhook.
Yay!
So, what did we think?
Well, after multiple attempts to try to get this podcast going, mainly my fault most times, when it started for me, it was in the water reflection, but there was a millisecond in my heart freaking out, like, oh, the video's upside down. Like, of course, something else is going wrong. So, but it was a very millisecond. Then went splash, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just the water reflection. I was like, I did not need to message Sandro and be like, hey, so can you fix this for me again? But yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's not entirely your fault because you don't control the Nova Scotia weather.
That's fair.
I'm going to straight up say I really hate this episode.
What?
but it has the most going on.
It really does feel like, of the 4 that we have watched thus far, that it is the most complete, the most diverse, and maybe the most fast-paced, I guess is maybe the term I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And dumbest. Definitely the dumbest.
That just popped, Emily.
There's absolutely some bitterness coming from Ben here today.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know if it's the mood.
All I know is watching them struggle to push that van up the stairs, and then Donatello rips the wall, like the entire side of the van off by himself.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clean cut.
Yeah, like there's who's faking here and who's the weakest? Because it looks like Donnie's not only the smartest, but the strongest.
It seems like a really odd choice that they're pushing the van up the stairs. And during the conversation, like, why are we pushing this up the stairs? Because it wouldn't fit in the elevator. It shouldn't fit in a stairway either.
I love how April's complaining the whole time while she's just steering.
What do you need to steer? You're pushing it up the stairs.
You know what? Open the door, put your hand on the wheel, and help.
She needs to be dodging the oncoming traffic?
I don't know. I have so many problems with this episode.
So Donatello obviously is the one that's pretty much doing everything here. He's building the turtle van by himself.
Yeah, yes. So pumped I was pumped when he ripped it off, and it's like he's starting the van.
So yeah, we agree he's the best, right?
No, I didn't say that.
I mean, he's definitely the most useful in this episode.
Okay, I'll take that.
I do want to point out, I mentioned it in the last episode, how I had that VHS.
Yeah.
This is the episode that let it off, and it is the one that I have, without a doubt, watched the most of any Ninja Turtles episode ever, because there were a lot of times where I watched this one, and then I didn't watch a thing about rats and just rewound it. So I've seen this episode more than any other. And when I rewatched it for this episode, it felt more nostalgic than anything else because I felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen throughout the entirety of it.
And you're still a fan?
Calm down, man. Calm down.
Sorry.
So outside of creating the turtle van, which is impressive beyond a shadow of a doubt, although I'm surprised that Baxter Stockman's place had the aesthetic pieces needed to create what he did. I get the technology side of it, but then Donatello actually questions why they have to be the ones to stop the Shredder. And I think it's Michelangelo says, like, it's the only job we're qualified for. And he just goes back to work. I'm like, wait, you got this far without even knowing he existed.
Yeah.
And
But at the beginning of the episode, I need to point out that, remember the 80s montage music in like episode 2, I think it was? Just the most generic, like Golden Girls, like transition music.
You had mentioned it when they were dummying up April's apartment in the last episode.
Yeah. Anyways, it returns this time at the beginning of the episode. And like, I just don't know why they chose that song. It just brings me like, oh, Golden Girls is on.
They probably didn't have another one to use. Probably just had some in-house composer. And they were like, come up with something. It's like a first take. Yeah, that'll do. We're fine.
That'll work. That'll work. They're kids. They're stupid.
So we get to the other side of the conflict. We go to Technodrome again, which I'm sure the Turtles have lost again because they suck finding this thing. And Krang is reprimanding the Shredder yet again.
Yep.
And somehow the mention of Dimension X causes Shredder to blatantly ignore what Krang just said about not opening the portal to Dimension X and is like, oh, I forgot about Dimension X. We should open a portal to it immediately. But before he does that, I actually found it weird. He turns on like a video of another room in the Technodrome real quick. And he says, like, I'm still perfecting the mutations of the thugs. And you see a room full of animal thug mutations that I don't think ever come up again.
No. But Shredder also insults Bebop and Rocksteady, being like, these are coming along much better. And you're like, they look like assholes. Like, none of them look like they could do anything.
No.
One of them, like a lizard dude, just is like popping back, rubbernecking, looking over at the camera, being like, hey. Like, yeah, I'm sure this guy's going to be great.
Was it just their way of like to have toys? Like, were any of those toys?
I don't think so, but it might have been just perhaps some future proofing. Maybe later we can introduce some of these characters. We'll just get it in the back of people's minds.
Smart move.
There were a number of toys that came from this episode. Obviously, the turtle van, the foot cruiser. One of the 3 neutrinos had a toy, which I found really odd because I actually went and looked it up this time around. Why not all 3 if you're just trying to grab toy money? I don't know, but they made one of them. And then General Treg, but not the other Stone Warrior. And if you look up a picture of the toy of General Treg, it doesn't look like a Stone Warrior. It's awful. It might be the worst of the Series 1's toys. But yeah, those are the ones I actually looked it up that came from this episode specifically. So I feel like if they even did those other mutants, it might even be overkill.
I don't know, man, because like there's that new series of toys, and there are the 2 Stone Warriors, and they look spot on. But like the 2-pack costs like $90.
Yeah, but that's the new ones. If you go back and look at the original run, which I actually found a website that had it divided by like series, there's only one, and it looks terrible. And obviously, these are a choice because they only had one of the 3 neutrinos, not all of them. Why? No idea. But if they did the mutants that were on Shredder's screen, those guys didn't even have names to put on the packaging.
Good point.
We're just getting bogged down on the toys, but that should be a clear example of what this show was. It was an avenue for the toys first, and then a TV show second, which just happened to catch on in a massive way.
Yeah.
The toy looks nothing like him. I looked it up. Oh my god. It's like 3 different toys in one.
It's multicolored. I don't know what the head is so messed up.
It looks like it has gorilla hands. Like the Thing from Marvel's Fantastic Four's body.
Yeah, you can't describe the head. It is... Mm-hmm.
There's a snake wrapped around one of his legs. Okay, whatever. That is a nightmare.
So we cut back to the Turtles. And in mere hours, Donatello has built the entire turtle van, which I do have to point out, as a child, that was my prized piece of my collection because I had the turtle van.
Same, and I took care of it for so long, and then it would just like break apart just because it was like old, but it was held together with like rubber bands and stuff.
Yours held together?
Well, like I said, rubber bands had to keep the spring of the door and stuff like that. My mom, like Jimmy rigged everything. It was crazy.
My door broke off.
It was cobble.
The toy, you could lift the roof,
yep,
and it would cause the side seat that you could sit a turtle in to kind of pop out to the side.
Yeah.
And I had a turtle in the door, and I popped the roof, and it just flung open, but then kept going and just broke off. Like the weight of the turtle was too much. It's like, I don't know who engineered this, but now I got to duct tape this door back onto the handle.
Yeah.
Obviously not Donatello.
No.
We don't know that. That might happen in a future episode.
Can you imagine? Like a battle. The roof opens, the door pops out, and Raph falls to his death.
Well, they don't need to open the roof on the actual turtle van. That was just for the toy.
You don't know that.
Yeah, stick to the lore. They
do use the gunner seat in this episode, and it would be hilarious if the door just opened up and just fell off.
Yeah.
The gun firing in every direction.
Can we please talk about the neutrinos?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead here, Sandro.
No, actually, I think the next thing is the neutrinos. I think the only other thing that we see here with the turtle van is April questioning, how are we going to get it out of here? It's like, well, you pushed it up the stairs. Now we're just going to drive it down the stairs. But then it does cut to Shredder opening the portal.
I've never wanted to beat the shit out of children before. but give me the opportunity, and these kids are...
They're teenagers, first of all. It's right in the title.
I don't care. They're still kids.
No, they're not. They're teenagers. So you probably could beat them up.
They're still minors, probably.
Well, anyway, that's what happens. Shredder opens the portal, and the first thing that comes through is the 3 neutrinos in 2 of their flying vehicles, followed by the 2 stone warriors who are in pursuit. And this is maybe the only time that Bebop and Rocksteady have ever actually hit a target dead on, because they shoot down the Stone Warriors vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw episodes where they're like 5 feet from the turtles firing away and can't hit nothing.
Just luck of the draw. They wanted to impress Shredder.
No, they just wanted to have fun. I think that's what I think Rocksteady even says it. Shredder tells him to stop because now that they're out of the vehicle, neither side can hit anything again.
Oh, yeah.
And Shredder's just telling them, like, stop, you idiots, stop shooting at each other. And Rocksteady's like, oh, we were just having fun or something like that.
Just beginning to have fun.
And it's like, that's your idea of fun, shooting at each other. Sure.
This episode, guys.
What is it that makes you hate the kids? I mean, I'm not fans of them. When they're like, oh, you're square, and then he's like, oh, you're a cube. Like, all right, let's stop with these shapes. Like,
they're just so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, not only the voice acting, but the actual character design. I remember being pissed off at this when I was a child watching it.
Well, it's because they have to look like they're from another dimension. That's
from Dimension X, bro.
Like the creators, the animators or whatever, are like, we just got to make it look really crazy because they're like aliens, essentially.
No, I get that, but like the girl, I forget her name, she looks like Gwildor from Masters of the Universe. And then you got the kid with the spiky blue hair, like the reverse Sonic hairdo. I hate the character designs. The voices are annoying. The characters are annoying. Everybody in this episode seems incredibly inept.
Okay, calm down, man. Calm down.
Except for Donnie, who is the hero in every episode.
Yeah, Mikey sounded even like more stupid this episode.
Mikey had something going on.
He was like super chill. It's like he's just like, you know what, everything's cool, man.
It seemed like he was quite interested in Kala, we'll say.
Yeah. I don't know how Leonardo's katana can take out a tank tread.
You're really getting ahead of yourself, man.
Am I?
Well, Mikey's nunchucks took down those metal robots, but then breaks on the stone general or whatever.
That's a good point.
That didn't make no sense to me. Like,
yeah, because the turtles haven't even run into the neutrinos yet. Like, they're in the turtle van. They're going to head through a subway entrance to find the Technodrome. And that's when the neutrinos come out. That sword slash, which I agree, doesn't make any sense. And how long is Leonardo's sword? Like, he gets out to the side of the turtle van in that scene later on and slashes clear across the entire front of the vehicle.
yeah.
But the turtles see the neutrinos fly out of the subways. And of course, the first thought is that the Shredder sent them as, I don't know, joyriders. Like, they do have to bring them down, but after they even question that, like, were you sent by Shredder? No, Raph says Shredder must be really scraping the bottom of the barrel if he sent you guys. All they're doing is flying around the city.
The ejection seats.
Not a seat. It's like a platform.
I know, but they're like 30 to 40 feet high. And you're like, why? Just why? But like, I don't think I'm looking at it enough as just being a cartoon, because I'm like, you're flying in New York, like you're hitting power lines. That car is going down. Like that spring is hooking on something.
Oh, so you're already talking about when they're in the neutrinos vehicle, because
yeah,
I was referring to how they got up to the vehicles where the turtle van,
the spring platform.
Yeah, we see it in the intro, like theme song, like in the intro, they show that as well. But in this, they springboard out to the vehicles with two turtles going to one and two to the other. I'm not sure how they had that aerial control when they were all flung up together.
This is an episode where, as you're watching it, your attitude has to be, okay, I guess.
You're watching a show about large turtles that were mutated humanoids. Like, you've got to have some level of suspension of disbelief, Ben.
Well, you can't have any sense of reality, that's for sure.
Calm down.
It's so ridiculous. This episode is so insanely ridiculous.
It all started going downhill when April didn't wear gloves.
That was episode 1.
He's right, though, man. He's totally right.
Just the reality, you just had to throw it all out the window at that point.
I also love how in this episode, sometimes the turtles are like 2 feet tall, sometimes they're 5 feet tall.
Man, okay, I was going to bring that up about the van. It seems like the van grows throughout the episode. So he's like, oh, it needs to be 3 foot taller so I can swing my sword around. And then all of a sudden he's like stepping out on this wing of the van, and he's only like a quarter size of it. Like, oh.
Yeah. Also, how often do we see him practice with his swords?
I don't know.
None.
Exactly.
He's just cleaning them.
Well, we have to assume that he's doing it all the time if he has to do it while they're driving.
Yeah.
He's just preparing himself for the ownership of a vehicle that's going to be theirs now. He's just thinking ahead.
I disagree completely. This is a horrible leader. He's an absolutely horrible leader.
How is he a horrible leader? He figured out the pattern of the neutrinos.
Okay.
They show that monitor.
That's great. The monitor that he built?
Donatello built it.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. In the van that Donatello built?
Yeah, but...
And everything that Donatello did to allow him to look at his screen and be like, hey, Donatello, everything you've done here shows me that this is happening. And he's like, yeah, that's some leadership skill right there.
These 2 dots of the vehicles are bouncing everywhere on that monitor. And he's like, they're going to pass here. How did you make a pattern out of that? It's completely random, going in multiple directions. Even Donatello's machines couldn't have figured that out.
I thought it was a repeating pattern. I could be wrong.
I'm not engaging. I refuse to engage in this. It's absolutely terrible. This is such a tough episode for me because, like I said at the beginning, it is probably the worst, but so much more happens that you're engaged while you're watching it.
Well, you could tell it's the cliffhanger episode. They're the go home episode. Like the next one, everything's going to get wrapped up.
Yeah, the penultimate.
Yeah.
All right, well, if Ben's not going to engage, I'll just say they get springboarded onto the vehicles. Donatello and Raph are on one, hanging off the side. Donatello gets his shell scraped against the wall, and they just grab them and put them in the back seat, like without any resistance, and bring the vehicle down. Leonardo and Michelangelo get springboarded up on that ejector seat, and Leo uses his elbow pad to blindfold the guy, and bring the vehicle down.
Yeah.
When they get to the ground, luckily, Michelangelo has turtle wax to repair Donatello's scraped shell.
When he rubs it on him too, like Donnie makes a weird, because his body goes in a weird position.
Well, because it hurts, man. It's like probably like putting rubbing alcohol on a cut, you know?
Doesn't make any sense.
It's a kid's show. It's turtle wax. It's not supposed to make sense.
I know, but I can't let that go, man. If we were just reviewing this as children, we wouldn't really have that much to say.
Awesome, man. All the explosions.
We might actually have quite a bit now that I think about it. It'd probably be a lot of fun, but I'm old and jaded. Leave me alone.
The turtle wax would probably be a bit that landed with us because we're kids. We're like, oh, that's funny. It's turtle wax.
Did you know what turtle wax was when you were a kid?
No, but that's why it worked for me, because I'm like, oh, I know it's a real thing and it's not really used for repairing turtle shells, but it's clever because it has turtle in the name. That's all it takes for a kid.
Well, I didn't know what turtle wax was. I wasn't, at that age, I wasn't into, looking at things to, shine cars.
Well, I just said I didn't know what it was.
But you said you knew what, I didn't know what turtle wax was.
But I didn't know what it was.
Oh, okay.
I was just familiar with the name.
I love it when you guys misread each other, but it's so close.
It's almost always my fault. I admit that.
You're just exhausted.
It's also partially the frustration of watching Ninja Turtles. I was so excited for doing this. And watching these, I'm like, I see why I really enjoyed them as a kid, but it's a rough one, boys. But that's also why I love talking about it, because you two are so into it. And I'm like, obviously I'm missing out on something.
I think you're just digging too deep, man. It's a cartoon.
The three of us are coming at this from very different directions.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sandra, where are we now?
They find out that they're not enemies, and rather than strategizing, they do the next best thing.
Okay. This is where they said they wasn't square. I don't know. Their language pissed me off, the way they talked.
I think it was something like they asked if they were cool, and I think he said, cool, Daddy-O, we're frozen or something.
Yeah, or frosted. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
It was a bad line.
It was
a really bad line. When they get to the arcade and the two employees are dressed like really terrible looking clowns, and the one says, hey, we're getting some weird looking characters in here. I even as a kid found that funny, because I'm like, well, you guys look funny. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
The more I hear you two talk about this episode, the more I think it's probably my favorite one that we've covered so far.
What?
Not based on what you've said thus far.
Well, I mean, if you look at the neutrinos and the turtles teaming up, and you see them come face to face with Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, and these stone warriors, and you asked me to pick a side, I'd ask Bebop for a gun in a second. These guys look and sound annoying, are driving me up the wall. There's so many little things going on, like the massive police presence that seem to be driving all over the city with no direction. Quick shots of 30 or 40 cruisers speeding around corners, missing all of the action.
Well, no, that's at the end when they are responding to probably all of the sound and what's going on. The police haven't shown up yet.
Well, they haven't even set off the weather thing yet. You're right. I am getting way too ahead of us. All right, that's fine. Go for it.
Did you even watch the episode?
6 times waiting for this recording to happen. I think that's maybe why I'm so angry.
Like, they're still in the arcade, man.
Okay, let's go back to the arcade.
Well, I mean, there isn't much else. Like, this is the first time that Michelangelo really gets, I don't know, flirty with Calla. I don't know what you would call it.
Creepy.
It is pretty creepy. Even as a kid, I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable. But then April pulls the, like, television show cardinal sin and says, aren't you guys worried about what else might have come out of Dimension X? And then, of course, cue 2 rocket missiles crashing into the arcade. Everybody dives for cover, and we actually get that first kind of confrontation face-to-face with the turtles and the neutrinos on one side and the Stone Warriors on the other side.
Going down.
This is kind of the first bit of action because, well, actually, there's a really janky shot of Leonardo when he's looking back at the group.
Straight out of Korea.
Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about. Because I think he's asking the neutrinos at that moment, like, do your vehicles have any weapons on them? And the neutrinos say it's required by law because Dimension X is a dimension of war.
They don't even like war. All they like is having fun.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, it's absolutely stupid.
So anyway, cue the fight music for the first time as the turtles head for the turtle van and neutrinos head to their vehicles. And this is where you get the neutrinos are shooting down the ground to try and slow down the vehicle. Raphael comes out on the side door, stays attached to the turtle van, shooting at it. And then Leo comes out of the other side and has this magic elongating sword that somehow cuts across the entirety of it. And that's when they actually kind of flee, is the sound of all of the police. And I think there's even like tanks that are responding.
Yeah, driving as fast as the squad cars.
Yeah, just ripping around the corner.
Yeah. And so the turtles head for the sewers because, as always, they need to go to Splinter for guidance. And the Stone Warriors set off the Weather Maker before they head back to the Technodrome.
Before we get to this point, I have to say,
yeah,
right after that shootout happens and everyone's fleeing, how big is this turtle van? Because it starts off as a minivan, like a news van, right?
That's what it said. It said it's growing throughout the episode.
Yeah. And in this scene, I think it's Leo is running for the van. And I swear to God, by the time he gets there, the van is in plain view and he's almost non-existent. He's so small. Proportions in this show, in this one episode, not the show. The show's pretty good. This one episode is all over the place with quality.
You say that, but this is the 3rd episode that you've commented on the inconsistent size of the turtles.
This is probably the worst.
Okay, I'm just saying, you're like, yeah, it's normally pretty good. And it's, no, it isn't.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love this show.
I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about the proportions of the turtles in the episodes.
Fair enough. We don't need to talk about turtle proportions.
They've been up the entire series.
Yeah.
The turtles and the neutrinos are back in the lair. They're relaying the information to Splinter. And they actually tell them that Krang lost his body when he was exiled from Dimension X, and now he's just this brain, which reinforces Michelangelo's claims from the previous episode about just a brain being in the house.
Yeah.
But my question is, how did they know?
How do they know what?
Well, the neutrinos are on the Dimension X side when Krang gets exiled and loses his body. So how do they know he's just a brain right now?
Would they have not seen him when they were when they first came through the portal?
We also don't know what the body looked like before.
Well, he was in Dimension X before, so he had a body. We don't know if it was looking the same way, but they say that he lost his body when he was exiled. So I guess maybe he could have been stripped of the body before he was exiled? I don't know. They didn't see it when they came in through the portal because they just shot the wall out of the Technodrome and flew out of there like right away.
Right.
Yeah. This is another situation where Michelangelo gets close to Calla again. It's bad. It's really bad.
Michelangelo's a party dude, we've been told.
They decide that they are now going to go to the Technodrome. seems to be where every plan goes to, because they want to send the neutrinos home. They exit the sewers via an elevator and a phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd that come from?
Same place as the weather satellite.
No, the weather satellite came from Dimension X.
Oh my god, this episode, guys.
I think you just need to have some more fun with it, man.
I think he's trying, but don't watching it 6 times.
Yeah. I do remember enjoying the weather satellite the first time I saw this, but I was like 6. Total chaos.
That's not a weather.
And then it's just raining down huge chunks of ice.
You haven't lived in Nova Scotia, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's the explanation for the bad weather you guys are having.
The Environment Canada website, high of 7, total chaos.
You guys should look up into the sky, see if there's something causing your problems. So this time around, the turtles find the Technodrome no problem. Maybe the neutrinos guided them. And April's disappointed that she has to just stay in the turtle van and she can't go in. It's like,
again?
Why? What do you think you're going to do if you join them? Get kidnapped. You're not a benefit in battle.
No.
They instead go in the neutrinos vehicles, in 2 vehicles. One of them stops in the portal room, which makes sense, right? Donatello is trying to figure out how to open the portal. Leonardo's providing him backup. What are Michelangelo and Raphael doing with the neutrinos?
That's a good question.
Like, they fly into another room where the Stone Warriors are on turret guns with Shredder and Krang. They get out of the vehicle, they run at it, jump at the force field with their bodies and roll off, and then fly out of there. Like, what was the entire purpose of that?
I got nothing here, man. I honestly don't know what to say.
It's one of those things that it's just let go of reality. They needed a filler. I don't know. They needed an extra 20 seconds.
That's entirely possible, yeah.
Make them do things.
It was just another action sequence, I guess.
Yeah.
In all actuality, they could have all stayed in the room with the portal. That's where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Were they just defending? Were they gone lookout somewhere?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe they were staying on the offensive to keep the heat off of that room, but they had split their forces as well, because Rocksteady and Bebop came in with the foot soldiers, and the Stone Warriors were with Krang and Shredder. So I guess that's a little bit of appropriate strategizing by the villains.
There is one thing here I wanted to bring up too, and that is the neutrinos fly in through the hole they blew out of the side of the Technodrome.
Okay.
When they escape the Technodrome and they fire those missiles and blow up the wall, in the animation, the smoke clears and there's no hole. The wall is still intact, and then they just fly through it.
I didn't pick up.
Yeah.
Well, you got to find the inaccuracies, right? That's always going to happen.
I think that's what I'm enjoying most about going through this show again. The goofs.
There's a good number of them.
Yeah.
So Donatello manages to save Leonardo, who got overconfident and said he could take on all of the foot soldiers himself. Donatello luckily just found the button that matches the thing on the floor and somehow opened a trap, but then also opens the portal. Without Donatello, they would be screwed in this episode.
Yeah. Thank you. Finally. Donatello is the best.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No.
No, that's fine.
So anyway, Raph and Mikey show up, and now they can have like an appropriate battle to just kind of slow things down. And this is actually what you're referring to. Michelangelo hits General Trag with the nunchuck, and it just splinters half of it.
Yeah.
Even though before it was like destroying metal. So I guess it's not super strong anymore.
Or maybe it was weakened by the metal.
That's it. That's got to be it. How do they get the Stone Warriors back into Dimension X?
Oh, let me take this one.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Because this is physics at its best. They dump a random barrel of oil.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the Stone Warriors lose their footing and are slipping all over the place. In their boots, mind you. Now, these two turtles who have no shoes on, can run through this oil and maintain traction, not slipping whatsoever, and shoving them back through the portal.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure turtles would have a bit of like padding on their feet.
Where are you getting that from?
Hold on. And
Don't look it up. It doesn't exist.
And like rocks are super hard and flat, so they just we have like a constant. The friction would be a lot less.
Yeah, it's pretty scientifically proven, Ben. I'm with Justin on this one.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can see how you miss it, but I'm just letting you know.
The neutrinos hesitate to go back home. Donatello says that he can't hold the portal open forever because he's actively pushing buttons to keep it open. I guess it's not like just a on-off switch. And Mikey gets really sad that Kala is leaving because, I don't know, they've developed a very strong emotional bond in the time they've spent together. They pretty much tell the Shredder that they got him now, but the Technodrome shakes because the weather maker is going ballistic, I guess. They flee out of there, somehow knowing how to drive the Neutrinos' vehicle because they went back in only one of them. Leonardo's only idea is to jump out of the vehicle free falling in order to cut the weather maker in half.
Well, they tried shooting it first and he couldn't get a shot. He couldn't get an angle.
Yeah.
Who's flying it? If it's Donnie, then it makes sense.
And then we get like two really quick scenes of Shredder walking into Krang's area and saying, "Fine, I'll make your body." And then April reading the Turtles minus Leonardo a bedtime story of the tortoise and the hare, and Leonardo saying we're gonna make Shredder pay, like he says in seemingly every episode this season, and that's it.
I was also bamboozled. I thought all four of them were in the bunk beds. So when Leo walked out, I was like, "Who else is in there then?"
No, it was just the three of them.
Yeah, it was a pretty abrupt ending.
They all seemingly are.
Yeah.
This one is because it's now this next episode is like everything's going to happen. It's all going to wrap up.
Yeah, because keeping in mind at this point they did 5 episodes meant to be one story arc, so we know that they have an idea of where they're going, and it's going to end in the next episode. And if they get picked up, they'll change it. So, like, yeah, this was the penultimate episode that was really setting everything up.
I dig it.
I also dig it.
After just grumbling like an old man.
Well, I am an old man, and I am grumbling, yes. It's the most ridiculous episode. Like, if you try and you can't even really break it down sensibly. Like, nothing in this episode makes any sense whatsoever. But there's always something happening.
Yeah, this is a non-stop episode. It gives you hand-to-hand combat, vehicle combat. You're flying around the city. You're building a turtle van. You're opening port. Like, they threw so much stuff into this episode that like you can't stop paying attention. It will keep you engrossed.
Well, I think you can't stop paying attention because you're always trying to make sense of what the hell's happening on screen.
There was a couple of times I had to like click back a couple of seconds just to rewatch what I was watching.
Yeah. It's I'd say the most rapid storytelling they've done so far. Like rapid and dense. I think you both have to agree. Like Sandra said, like it is jam packed. It really is.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's jam packed full of quality.
It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm giving hope and hoping that, the next episode wraps it all up beautifully.
So what would be individual highlights for the episode?
When Raph talked like a gangster, when he was hanging on the outside of the vehicle, just like sitting there holding the big gun. Yeah, we're going to tell him,
The Cagney impression.
It's so good.
Yeah, that was really good. The highlight for me is probably one of my biggest piss-offs, too. It was the introduction of the neutrinos. Because it caught me so off guard that I just had to sit back and be like, oh, okay, where are we going from here?
Yeah, like they just appeared, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm thinking way too far into this, but it would have made a lot more sense if for the split second when the portal opened, right before if it jumped over to Dimension X and showed the two Stone Warriors chasing them, and then all of a sudden they just like boom appear through.
Yeah, but I think they wanted to go for that surprise.
Was it a surprise or just like a?
Well, yeah, because imagine at the time that this came out, you have no other knowledge. All you're told is that Shredder's going to open a portal to try and get the army of Stone Warriors. So you don't expect the neutrinos because you don't know that they even exist at that moment until they appear.
Fair enough.
My highlight was actually just one shot, and it was of the turtles and the neutrinos standing side by side in like battle-ready stances when the Stone Warriors shot out the arcade. Not when they cut to like the side of Leonardo that looks like the worst animated frame in the entire show thus far. But like when they're just standing, you know, like the shot is from them like straight on.
Yeah.
It's just like a really, really impactful shot where you're like, okay, you know that they are, you know, they're going to protect these people. They're going to get battle ready. It's a cool shot, and it just gets you excited for what's going to come next.
Right. Like, okay, oh, they've teamed up now. Let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, guys, rank the episode. Quick reminder, the way we currently have it is episode 2, Enter the Shredder, then episode 1, Turtle Tracks, and then episode 3, A Thing About Rats.
This is my favorite episode so far.
Agreed. I put it at the top.
Yeah. I don't think it's good. It's just so absolutely ridiculous. But it felt like they actually really tried hard this time to tell a story, to give us new characters, to move what they were starting to build from the last 3. I feel like this is where everything is starting to take a solid form and actually makes me want to watch the rest. It was just so all over the place. Like it's a tough one, guys. It's a really tough one. I hate the neutrinos. I hate them so much. But something is starting to come together here, and I want to continue. How do you feel, Justin?
I didn't have as much care for this episode. Like, sure, it's setting up and there was a lot of stuff happening. But I think you don't like the neutrinos. I just found them like bland. Like, sure, they're supposed to be like cool and happening and stuff, but you're telling me that these little punks are running like these stone generals?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But so I'd put mine 2, 1, 3, 4.
I'm going to agree with Ben and put it at the top. So we're going to go 2 out of 3 there.
Okay.
But I think that it is the best episode thus far, simply because it just hits the pace that you expect from a TV show of its ilk.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Like when you watch any 80s TV show, you don't really want the most story development and downtime. You're a kid looking for entertainment, and you just want it to go, go, go. And that's what this one does. There really isn't a lot of downtime. Even when they go to like confer with Splinter, it's the shortest we've seen thus far because they just want to get you to the next thing. And like I mentioned earlier, you got combat on foot, you got vehicle combat, you got flying around, you got intelligence with Donatello creating anything and everything, you got Raphael doing impressions. Like, everybody shines in this episode. I don't care for the neutrinos too much, but they don't appear too often in the show. And just being like an avenue for directing the storyline in this one, they're fine. Could they have done them a little bit less annoying? Yes. But their purpose is sound. And that's why this episode just flows so well for me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I can see where you're coming from.
All right. So one last episode. We'll see how that one turns out.
Bye.
All the best.